You're playing a dangerous game when God tells you to move and you don't go the moment He tells you to go. It's your girl Chris Nikki. I'm back with another gold mic chat. Is the mic on? Is the mic on? So, like I said, you're playing a very dangerous game when God has either told you directly through prayer, dreams, whatever that is, or He's using the confirmation of others to follow up what He already told you of you need to go. And that means literal or metaphorically, whether that's literal like God tells you need to pack up and move to another city, or you need to move out of that apartment complex, or you need to move away from that roommate, or if it's more theoretical of God is telling you it's time for you to shift lanes. You're no longer supposed to work in that career, or you're no longer supposed to operate in that same mentality. And the reason why I say you're playing a dangerous game when you don't do it the second that He says, you never know what blessings you may be missing out on, or what unnecessary harm and danger you could be bringing onto yourself that didn't have to be, because you were supposed to be out the way. God's provision and God's timing is always either to elevate and or to protect. And I'll give you a real life scenario. For those of you who don't know, I am a TV writer. I live in Los Angeles. And when I was moving from Atlanta at the time to LA, I felt like I had hit this glass ceiling living in Atlanta. Like, I told myself I'm going to live in Atlanta for 3 years, and then my plan was to move to LA. Well, it got to a year and 3 months, not even a year and a half, a year and 3 months. And every night I was going to sleep, I felt like the Holy Spirit was really nudging me in my sleep, like, you need to go, you need to go, you need to go. And I had just discovered Issa Rae's Awkward Black Girl series, and it inspired me to tap into my writer bag. I wrote, produced, casted, and directed my first web series. And now this was a month later. My lease was going to be up. Everything was lining up perfectly. And then I got my spirit telling me it's time to go. It's time to go. And I'm sitting there arguing with God like, well, what about my timeline? How many times have we said, well, what about my timeline? I'm supposed to do this, this, and that. And I'm supposed to go here and do this with that person first, and this, that, and the third. And God is like, I am the author of time. And you talking to me? Me about time? Something I created, a construct that I don't even have to submit to. I made that for y'all. Catch. And so finally I just gave in, and I'm like, okay. And I moved to LA. I kid you not, y'all. Within the first 2 weeks of me moving to LA, I was like, I gotta find some way to break into the entertainment industry. My dad, who had done some work back in the day in the entertainment industry, he was like, well, get a PA job. I didn't even know what a PA was, which is a production assistant, by the way, which basically means you just do any and everything for the higher ups, whatever they might need you to do. A runner, basically. And so I had heard about this event coming up. A girl that I went to Langston with, shout out to my alma mater, LU, Langston University, most Southwestern HBCU in the country. And this girl I went to college with, she had made a post. It was like a follow train. And she was posting this other guy named Karis at the time, who is an amazing producer. Shout out to Karis, doing amazing big things. And she was posting him on a flyer that he was going to be a panel speaker for this event called Trying to Break Into the Production Game. That was like the whole theme of the event. People that were trying to get into television production and work on the production side. And the event was put on by none other than the Pinky Cole, which a lot of you know as the owner of the Slutty Vegan Empire. She is just doing all these amazing things. Well, if you don't know, before this, she also had an amazing television career working on the producing side. And this was her event that she would put on. I believe it was either monthly or quarterly. I get there, see the flyer, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta go. And I think the tickets were like $20. Mind you, I just moved to LA. I moved on a whim following God. So I didn't have a whole bunch of money saved up in my moving fund how I did when I moved from St. Louis to Atlanta. So I'm like, God, this $20. And I remember praying the exact prayer. I said, God, if this is you, I need you to turn this $20 into a career. I paid the $20 for the ticket on Eventbrite. I go to the event. Not only do I meet Karis, but I meet a guy named Justin Hart, Anoop. Shout out to Justin, who also has gone on to do very amazing things. The Real, Fox Soul, and even more. Y'all know their names and all their work. And Justin helped me get my first job on a show called The Raw Word, which is a TV show pilot that was hosted by Michael Eric Dyson, Claudia Jordan. And it was my first gig. And then my second gig after that, I went on to work on a late night talk show called Man Cave on BET, where Tank, Cosign, and some other hosts were the four male hosts. It was an all black male late night show. But I say that to say my first two jobs in LA came from Justin and Kiers, who I met at this event. And I wouldn't have been able to go to the event. And I met Pinky, Lauren Hampton, another person doing amazing things, Crystal. I met all of these women and men who went on to literally craft every opportunity I had that paved the way for my career to eventually get to the Steve Talk Show, get to Scripted, to now be this writer in Hollywood, all these things. But they literally laid the groundwork and the framework. And I say that to say, if I would have, oh God, what about my timeline, and kept arguing with him, I wouldn't have been in place. The event happened literally within 2 weeks of me moving to LA. So you see why you got to move when God says move. Because if I wouldn't have been in place, I wouldn't have been here physically living in LA to go to the event, to meet a Karis, to meet a Justin, to meet a Pinky Cole, to meet a Lauren Hampton. And yes, God can do things the other way, but sometimes when you're not in place, you got to wait for it to come all the way back around. And imagine the things he could have been adding on if you would have been on track the first time. So in conclusion, I say, you playing a dangerous game when God tells you to move and he says go, and you're arguing and you do anything but go. So I hope my testimony will give some type of spark the next time God tells you to go, whether it's literal or metaphorically, theoretical, spiritual.